Real quick, let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I just started working on my first game. I'm developing a game. I wanted to keep my budget low. So I'm using free programs for my first game. I'm limiting myself to free programs just to get myself started. So for instance, I am making all of my artwork as pixel art in Gimp. And because of that, I've been looking for so many tutorials, and I've been trying to piece together things that I want to do, and I've been having such a hard time finding things specifically for Gimp. So what I thought I would do for you guys is try and consolidate all the things I needed to know into one video. By the way, I am still new to making these sprite sheets and pixel art. So if there's anything you know I could do better, please let me know in the comments. Give me some constructive feedback. I would appreciate that. Also, while you're down there, you could like the video. I don't know if you enjoy. All right, so let's go take a look at Gimp. So Gimp is most commonly known as just the free Photoshop, or at least that's how I've seen it all these years. I've been using Gimp for probably around 7 or 8 years, just for various things like making YouTube thumbnails, just quick Photoshop in quotation things. But never had I made pixel art before, so I didn't really know where to get started. So I'm actually really proud with how this turned out. I've always kind of felt good with art, and I guess pixel art just kind of sort of came naturally. So this is my character for my game. This is a cat. He's a Siamese cat. Here's him looking to the side. Here's a couple different like animations. So I've started making like small little animation things here. A way that I was doing an animation for my cat, for instance, was I was going in here and I just made the width 8 times the width of this square. So this is a 32 by 32 square here that I'm working with. That's my tile size, I guess is what you would call it. So right here, I just multiplied 32 by 8. So I had the horizontal width 32 times 8, and then I had the Y as 32, the vertical width, vertical height. Anyways, so what I did was I put my first sprite in, I kind of adjusted, made his arms and whatnot, and then I took a copy and pasted it over here, and then lowered the opacity, and then kind of drew the next scene. And there's a much easier way to do this, and I just didn't know about it. So if we actually go in here, and I'm gonna defile this real quick. Let's say we want a 4 sprite animation here. I'm gonna get rid of all of these. I'm not gonna save it like this. So let's say we want a 4 sprite animation. So we've got his arms up, his arms, those are on the way up. So we have his arms up, right? He's T-posing. And then these are on the way down. You can see his claws kind of are on the way down. And then his arms are down. And then when he wants to put his arms up, this is them going up because his claws are inward, right? So let's say we want to animate that. And we want to test it. We want to see the animation. The issue with this, I did not see the animation until I put it in the game, other than scrolling like this. I think it turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. And I feel like a lot of that's luck. But so if you want to do it nice, I'm going to show you here. This is actually all that I need. So let's go ahead and check out this cool filter. So under filters up in the top in Gimp, we go to animation. And we're going to hit playback. I can't believe I just randomly stumbled upon this. Like, this would have been so nice. Okay, so your image is probably really small because it at default still 100%. That's really small. So we're just going to add a 0 here. Looks like the max is 400. So we'll just have to make that work. That's good enough. I can see what's going on here. So we're going to hit 1 frame per layer. Replace here on the bottom left. So we can change the speed and whatnot. So let's just hit play. So it kind of looks bad, but now I know that. It looks more like he's kind of swimming, but doing like the dance move, and he's not really coordinated. So he's doing something. But yeah, this is a much easier way to be able to see. And that way, when you're making your different layers, let's say you're starting with his arms up, which I didn't, but let's say you are. What you can do is make a new layer. So we can make a new layer. And what you would normally do is have a copy of him without arms, which I did before. And then you would be able to add all the other things. So if you have any static images, you would want to keep that on all of your fresh layers. And then what you would do is just lower the opacity on this one. and then draw in your next one. And yeah, that would be a much easier way to do that. And I wish I knew that earlier, but now you guys know that. So yeah, I'm not very good at the actual art yet. If you do want to learn pixel art really well, this channel right here is what I've been watching. This guy so much over the last couple weeks. I've been learning so much. This is kind of where I got the guide for doing my running animation. Just from watching these videos right here, improving. I kind of sat here staring at this video of him showing these running animations and talking about them to get mine. Mine's definitely not as in depth as some of those, but yeah, definitely check this out. I'll put a link to his channel in the description. He also live streams and whatnot. So yeah, working on his own indie game and giving a ton of useful tips. So this is the guy I would recommend right now if you want to get better at your art. But anyways, let me show you more things about Gimp. So I knew in my vision that I would need a tile sheet right here. So these are a bunch of tiles. These bottom ones are, that's just to see, I guess, for scale. But these are all the tiles that will be used in my game. And I actually wasn't sure how well this would work in Unity, which is my game engine of choice. But they ended up working out perfectly. And the way I made this was quite easy. So my tile for my character is 32 by 32. So I wanted all the tiles to be 32 by 32. So what I did was I made a new project that was 32, 32, 32. So 32 times 3 in the X and Y. And then what you want to do, up on the top left, go to View, Show Grid. Now my grid is perfectly configured for this. But if you need to configure your own grid, you're going to actually go to Image in the top left, go down and configure grid. Okay, click that. And what you're going to want, if you're doing exactly what I'm doing here, maybe you have yours 64 by 64 or 16 by 16. Basically, just type in whatever number your character tile or whatever you want your tiles to be right here in the spacing. Okay, so do that, and then you can change how it looks. At one point, I was doing dashed. I kind of like dashed a lot. I think that's one of the best. Double dashed, kind of weird. Intersection. So whatever you want there, you can change the color, you know, whatever. But yeah, so that's how you make that grid. So now, let's say you want to start by making ground. So what I first did was I wanted to figure out what I wanted my ground tile to look like. So I just made this on my own. Let me show you how I did it. And I just I wung it. I didn't even look at anything. I didn't have any reference. I just went. So let's go up to the left and pick our color. So let's say let's make blue dirt. All right. Let's just get crazy with it. Kind of wacky. So we got blue dirt. Let's pick our pencil. Now, another thing you're going to want to do is you want really sharp edges here. You might be drawing and you might be seeing it kind of, okay, that's a bad example. Anyways. Let's go over here. We're going to hit force and hardness. Max those boys. Max that. All right. All these other dynamic things, I don't know if I've changed them, to be honest. But you want force and hardness. Hardness for sure to be at 100. If it's not 100. Okay, I can't actually remember, but it used to like be faded. I don't know why it's not. But I don't know. Copy these if it's not working for you. I still don't know what I'm doing, like I said. All right, so I'm going to go to size, and since mine is 32 by 32, I like sitting around like the 5 if I'm like drawing a texture. So right now, we want to make a texture that loops perfectly and tiles perfectly on all directions so that it's a continuous, and we can just continue drawing that one tile to fill out a large area. This is usually used for like the center of like masses of ground in like a 2D game. So the way we're going to achieve this is we need this symmetry tool up here. Now, you might not have this up here. You probably don't. I didn't have it up there, so I'm going to assume you don't. So we're going to head over to the top left. We're going to go to Windows. We're going to go to Dockable Dialogues. And we're going to look for Symmetry Painting right here. Okay, so go ahead and click that. That opened it up over here. I don't know how I got it to stay there, but it just kind of has, and it's nice. So what we're going to do is do tiling. So we go to tiling, All right, guys, just butting in here real quick. So I wanted to talk a little more in depth about the symmetry painting. Okay, so another way I use the symmetry painting that I didn't go through here in the tutorial yet. So let's say we want to mirror. You may have seen it in the symmetry settings up here. So if we go up here and select mirror on our symmetry tool, we can set what direction we want to mirror and whatnot. So like horizontal, if we paint, gosh darn it. So if we check off horizontal, for instance, we'll see this line, and anything we paint above or below will be mirrored. Same goes for vertical. We can select them both at the same time. So like if we paint, it'll go on both sides around, but not across. And then if you did central, anything from this corner. So like if we just have central, we get rid of all that, and we paint here, it'll match it to the other side. So if you wanted to like basically do the same thing as tiling, you could use this mirror, check all three of these, and then it's like a mirrored tile that you could make, which could be useful. But yeah, I didn't mention this in the original recording here, so I just thought I'd add this in for you guys. So we go to tiling. So right now it's set at a Y interval of 32, so it'll match everything above it. We want, if we're doing the whole ground, we want it to be 32 on both sides. So we do 32. I'm going to undo that. So now that it's an X and Y of 32, when we draw, it'll match everywhere. So we can do something like that. We can go like this. And then let's just whip up something real quick. Okay, and it doesn't matter where you draw, it will translate to all of the tiles. So we got that blue. I like to work in multiple layers, so maybe I'll make a layer group, just kind of toss these boys in there. And then one little trick, so if you have the pencil tool selected, you're using the pencil tool. Oh yeah, if you use the brush, that's where you get the shaded edges. You might like that, but if you don't want that, then use the pencil. So you can hit N on your keyboard. N for Nemo, the fish. And that'll give you your pencil. So you can start drawing with a pencil. And a little shortcut that I recently learned after I made a bunch of my tiles. If you are in the pencil, if you're in the pencil and you hold control, it'll turn to the color picker. Whatever. So once you click with this, it'll pick whatever color you're looking at. So as you can see up here on the left, it's changing to whatever color I'm clicking on. I'm clicking here, click. So what I'm going to do is click this color, and then we have that color here. I'm going to drag it down. I'm going to get a little bit darker. Hit OK. I'm going to go back to N. And then since I'm on a layer below these blue lines here, I can just kind of fill in. And I'm just going to like go a little bit underneath all these blue here. Now you could copy what I'm doing here if you really want to. I don't really advise it unless you have a game with like blue. Yeah, I don't know. Go for it. All right, and then let's get another darker color here. So let's go even deeper. Let's go deeper, huh? There. And this one, I'm gonna make a new layer, drag it below, and I'm just gonna like use the bucket. Okay, so we have this could be like underground tiling underwater, like ground under the water. I don't know. But anyways, that's basically how I made my tiles. So what I did is I did that for this, and you can see this texture perfectly loops, and I can just keep adding different things. And then if we want to make the top, what we'll do is just come over here, and I made mine drop down, which made it a little complicated when I was making the mapping for collision in my game, but I did figure it out. And if you guys want me to make a video explaining that, just let me know. So what I did was we'll combine this layer group here. I like it how it is. I'm going to duplicate it just to keep one. And then I'm going to do it without the dip down. So let's say we want a bit more on the green side as like kind of like grass. This is just a sci-fi type of thing here. So now what we're going to do is actually get rid of the Y. So we're going to uncheck this. If you see this linked, that means these will automatically move at the same amount. I just removed my tile. Gosh dang it. Okay. So we're going to uncheck that and then change our y to 0 and put our x back to 32 or whatever your tile size is. So now if I draw up here, it'll only match across the top. So I can kind of draw just a little bit. And I'm using the paintbrush on accident, but I think it looks kind of good. So we'll stick with that. All right, so this is kind of like a looping grass that we can use on the top of our blocks. And then maybe I'll just get a little bit of a darker color, change the size. I'm going to go back to the pencil because I feel more comfortable with the pencil. And I'm just going to kind of go across the top. And if you've tapped a point, let's say I click right here. If I hold shift, it'll make a line. And if I hold control, it'll snap it in straight lines. So if I want to make a straight line, I can hold shift and control and just go to the side and then click. So we got a bit of a darker area there. And that's how we can make the top of our grass. I'm actually kind of growing fond to this. Maybe it'll be used in a game or something. And then slopes, like from here, I think I've given you enough information to be able to work and make these on your own. If you have the artistic ability to do it, I think you can do it from what I've said using Gimp. If you do have further questions, you want me to look into it or see what I do know, let me know in the comments. But yeah, so let's get into making like a background. So I designed this background at work. Don't tell my boss. Work was a little slow, so I just started doodling on Gimp, and I made this. And the way I made this, I made it so that every layer here can be perfectly looped. And what I can do with this is every layer is separate, so I can make this layer right here move much quicker as we run. Like let's say we're running to the right. We can have this one move much quicker, and then the layer behind moves a little bit slower and a little bit slower until we get all the way to like the clouds where they're barely moving. The sun won't be moving. So yeah, let me show you how I kind of did this. So I knew I wanted my dimensions. Let me show you here. Sometimes I forget what my dimensions are. Okay, well, this is imported in, but the dimensions right here for this project is 320 by 180, and 320 width by 180 height actually perfectly scales to 720p, 1080p, and 4K. So that's why I went with that, and that I also learned that from Adam here. So definitely check him out. So I'm still gonna recommend that. So I did 320 by 180. And because I knew I wanted it to be like that, and I wanted to make sure that these edges would tile perfectly, I made a new project, and I made the width 960, and then the height 180. So it's 3 times the width. And then what I did was, let's go to View, Show Grid. I made the grid just the width of 320, which is what our actual screen will be. So once I made all of these and made sure they loop perfectly, you can see they loop perfectly, then I just copied the middle of each layer and just pasted it in here and named them numbers. And usually in like Unity, you would name the first layer 0, and like all of your lists will start with 0, but I didn't know that yet, so I look like a scrub. But here I actually have some of them named like what they are. You can see like some of these really change the background and stuff. So yeah, that's how I did that. If I'm not being clear enough with that, please let me know and I'll try and clarify. But yeah, this I also just kind of was winging it. I used some gradients and just picked colors, and like I started trying to match closer to the sun, like the further out this way I was getting, and tried to use the sun as a reference to where the shadows would be. I don't know. I think it's pretty neat. I think there's a pretty beautiful little background. So yeah, that's kind of all I had to really talk about. I feel like there's probably more I wanted to mention. Oh, another thing. So what we can, another thing we can do, let's say you have, I don't know if you know Unity or not, but let's see. All right, so let's say we wanted to export this tile sheet right here into Unity or whatever game engine we want, and we want to be able to update it later. So what we're going to do is we're going to export as or Shift Control E. We're going to find the location where your assets are. I have mine actually docked here. So once you find where you want your assets to go, like right here, I have tiles. Never mind, that's the wrong folder. Let's just go to art. Where did I put it? Oh, I did put it in here. Maybe? I don't know. Let's just say, yeah, it's right here. So main tiles. So you can actually see I exported this as a PSD, which is actually a Photoshop image. And if you want to be able to do that, you actually click here, select file type by extension. So we're going to click that, and we're going to scroll down until we see PSD right here, Photoshop image. And what that does is we are easily able to just re-export that image to the same exact spot, same name, replace it, and it'll update right in Unity. You might be able to do this with PNGs too, but all I saw in Unity like tutorials that I've been watching is people using Photoshop. So I wanted to fit in, okay? Don't tell them I'm using Gimp. I'm actually pretty proud of using Gimp. But so through learning like animating things like my running animation, this took me so long but could have been done so much nicer and quicker if I was using what Adam here uses. What is it called? Sprite. Uses a program called Sprite. It's like a $15 to $20 one-time purchase, I think. It might be yearly, I don't know. But that's like nothing. I kind of wish I just bought it. But I like the idea of just working with what I had to work with, especially for my first game. So I think this will work pretty well for me. But yeah, if you guys want to keep updated, by the way, on my little project that I'm working on here, I'm making a 2D platformer with lots of collectibles and I don't know. I'm just making it up as I go. But I'm making a little 2D game with a cat protagonist. And it's going to be a catformer. But yeah, this is like a little project I'm working on. If you want to keep up to date on it, I actually have a Discord for it. I'll leave an invite to that in the description. So you can check that out. You can chat with me. You can ask me questions on things. Or you could be there to play some playable demos when I have them and give me feedback. I'd really appreciate that. Other than that, you guys can follow me on Twitch, AtoyK. Yeah, like, let me just say once again, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try to address anything if I can. And yeah, if you thought I could do anything better, please also let me know. All right, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys later. Peace out.